My daughter looked me in the eye and said, "Find somewhere else to die." My husband had been gone 3 days. She wanted her inheritance, and I was in the way. I'm Margaret Caldwell. I'm 68 years old, and I used to believe family meant something. Donald and I got married in June of 2011. It was a second marriage for both of us. I was 55, he was 59. I'd been divorced from Victoria's father since she was 12, and Donald had been widowed for 6 years. We met at a charity fundraiser for the Children's Hospital where I worked as an ICU nurse. He was there because his company had donated money. I was there because staff had been asked to attend. He was kind. That was the first thing I noticed. Not performative kindness, but real, attentive kindness. He listened. He made me laugh. By the end of the evening, he asked for my number, and I surprised myself by giving it to him. We dated for 2 years before marrying. Donald owned a real estate investment company, solid residential properties around Portland, nothing flashy. He had his career, I had mine, and a small house in Beaverton I'd bought after my divorce. We didn't need each other's money. We just needed each other. Victoria seemed happy when we got engaged. She was 30, working in marketing, recently married to Kevin Chen, a financial advisor she'd met through work. Kevin was polished, always in expensive suits, always talking about investments. I never warmed to him, but Victoria loved him, so I tried. In 2015, Donald and I built a house in the West Hills, every detail chosen together. 3 bedrooms, a home office, a garden with morning sun, a view of Mount Hood on clear days. The kind of house I never thought I'd have. "This is forever," Donald told me when we moved in. "This is where we grow old together." I believed him. At the housewarming, Kevin walked through every room commenting on square footage and value. "Nice investment," he kept saying. "Not beautiful home, not congratulations. Investment," Donald noticed. Later he said, "Your son-in-law is very interested in money." I brushed it off, but he looked troubled. For 12 years, we had a good life. We worked, traveled when we could, had Sunday dinners once a month with Victoria and Kevin. Kevin talked investments, Victoria talked work. I cooked. It was normal. Nothing that hinted at how it would end. In March 2023, Donald got sick. By April, the diagnosis came: stage 4 pancreatic cancer, 6 to 12 months, maybe less. Donald took it better than I did. "I've had a good life," he said. "I married you." I retired in May after 38 years as an ICU nurse because my husband needed me. Chemo bought time but made him terribly ill. By August, hospice was arranged. I set up the guest room with a hospital bed, morphine pump, everything I'd done for other families, now in my own house. Victoria visited occasionally, uncomfortable, relieved when there was nothing to do. Kevin came often, sometimes alone. "Just checking on Donald," he'd say. I thought he was being kind. I was wrong. In Donald's final weeks, the medication kept him comfortable but foggy. He drifted in and out, confused, sometimes calling me by his first wife's name. I was with him constantly, except for errands that couldn't wait. During those times, Kevin came by, always with an excuse. I trusted him. Donald died on September 12th at 3:47 a.m. I was holding his hand. I called Victoria at 4. She came with Kevin at 6. We cried together while Donald's body was still in the house. The funeral was that Friday. At the reception, Victoria gave a toast about Donald's generosity and honoring his wishes. Something felt wrong, but I was numb. Kevin pulled me aside. He said Donald had made changes to his will. He wanted to make sure Victoria was taken care of. I didn't understand, but I nodded. The next day, Victoria arrived with a moving truck. "The house is mine now," she said. "Dad left it to me. She told me I could stay a few days but needed to move out." That night, I slept in the guest room where Donald had died while they slept in my bedroom. Sunday morning, she told me I had 2 weeks to leave. Renovations were planned. When I asked why Donald would do this, she said Kevin and she were struggling financially. That Wednesday, when I asked for more time, she looked at me coldly and said, "You need to find somewhere else to die." I moved out the next day. I found a Craigslist studio, 400 square feet, stained carpet, $950 a month. All I could afford. My pension barely covered expenses. Claire, my sister, helped me move what Victoria allowed. Clothes, some photos. Victoria wouldn't let me take a lamp Donald and I had bought together. It's part of the house, she said. A week later, Victoria called about Donald's belongings. When I came, she handed me 3 boxes. No wedding ring, no honeymoon photos. She said she must have missed them. I never got them back. In October, running out of money, I found a key in Donald's old coat, a safety deposit box key. The bank said I couldn't access it without court approval. That's when I called a lawyer, Robert Messner. He listened carefully and told me the will might be invalid due to undue influence and Donald's medication. He filed an emergency motion to access the box. When the judge granted it, we went to the bank. Inside the box was a letter to me, a will dated March 15, 2019, and a flash drive. In the letter, Donald warned me that Kevin had been pressuring him for years and that any later will was not legitimate. The will left nearly everything to me and named me executor. The videos on the flash drive showed Donald lucid and firm, explaining his wishes and documenting Kevin's pressure. Robert said, "This changes everything." We filed to invalidate Victoria's will. When Victoria called screaming, I told her the truth. She denied it, then panicked. Robert uncovered more hospice records showing Donald was double-dosed with morphine the day the new will was signed, witnesses who were Kevin's business partner and college roommate, and emails proving Victoria and Kevin planned everything together. Victoria begged me to stop. She offered to split the estate. I thought of Donald's words, "Fight for what's yours." I told her no. Robert filed the amended motion. The story hit the news. Reporters called. Friends reached out. I told Joan I should have fought sooner. She said, "You trusted your daughter. That's not a flaw. That's being a good mother." I said quietly, "Good mothers don't raise daughters who do this." Stop that! Victoria made her own choices. You raised her to be better and she chose to be worse. That's on her, not you. Claire drove down from Seattle that week. She took one look at my studio apartment and said, "You're coming to stay with me." "I can't. I need to be here for the court hearings." "Then I'm staying here with you." She slept on an air mattress on my floor for 2 weeks. She made me eat, made me shower, made me go for walks around the neighborhood when I wanted to just hide in my apartment and avoid the world. "You need to keep your strength up," she said. "This is going to get worse before it gets better." She was right. Victoria and Kevin hired a different attorney, someone more aggressive than David Chen. Her name was Patricia Wolf, and she was known for winning ugly cases. She filed a motion to dismiss our claim, arguing that Donald's 2019 will was outdated and irrelevant, that people have the right to change their minds, and that we were harassing her grieving clients. Grieving clients, as if they were the victims. Robert countered with a motion to depose Victoria and Kevin separately. "We need them on record," he told me, "under oath. Lying to me is one thing. Lying to a judge is perjury." The depositions were scheduled for mid-November. Victoria's was first. I sat in the conference room at Robert's office, watching through a window as Victoria was sworn in. She wore a conservative navy suit and barely any makeup. She looked nervous. Patricia Wolf sat beside her. Robert sat across from them with a court reporter typing every word. "Ms. Chen," Robert began, "when did you first learn about your stepfather's illness?" "March 2023, when he was diagnosed." "And did you visit him regularly during his illness?" "As often as I could. I work full-time, so it was hard to get away, but I tried." "How many times would you say you visited between March and September?" Victoria glanced at her attorney. "I don't know. Maybe once or twice a week." Robert pulled out a document. "I have the visitor log from the hospice nurse. She documented everyone who came to the house to visit Donald. According to this, you visited 11 times in 6 months. Does that sound right?" Victoria's face flushed. "I suppose so. 11 times in 6 months. That's less than twice a month. Would you say that's as often as you could? I was busy. I have a career. Of course. But your mother, Margaret, she retired from her career to care for Donald full time, didn't she? Yes. And you knew she was doing that? Yes. Did you offer to help? To give her breaks? To take shifts caring for him? I offered. But Mom said she had it under control. Robert made a note. Let's talk about your husband, Kevin. How many times did he visit Donald? I don't know. He went sometimes when I couldn't make it. Robert pulled out the same visitor log. According to this, Kevin visited 23 times between July and September, almost 4 times a week during those final months. Does that sound accurate? Victoria looked uncomfortable. If that's what it says. That's interesting because you visited 11 times and your husband visited 23 times. Why do you think Kevin visited more than twice as often as you did? He wanted to help. He knew I was worried about Donald. Was Donald his stepfather, too? Or was Kevin visiting for some other reason? Patricia Wolfe interrupted. Objection. That's speculative. I'll rephrase, Robert said. Ms. Chen, did Kevin ever discuss Donald's estate planning with you? Victoria hesitated. Sometimes. What kind of discussions? Just, he thought Donald should make sure everything was in order, that he should have a clear will. And did Kevin suggest who should inherit Donald's estate? Another hesitation. He thought since Donald and I had a close relationship, it would make sense for me to inherit the house. Did Kevin suggest this before or after Donald got sick? I don't remember. Robert pulled out a printed email. This is an email from Kevin to you, dated March 2023, the same month Donald was diagnosed. The subject line is inheritance planning. In it, Kevin writes, now that Donald is sick, we need to make sure he knows how much you mean to him and that he provides for you properly. Do you remember this email? Victoria's face went pale. I don't remember every email. Let me read you another line from the same email. Your mother already has her nursing pension. She'll be fine, but we could really use the equity from that house. Did you write back to this email? I don't know. You did. You wrote, I feel weird about this, like we're planning for him to die. And Kevin responded, we're not planning for him to die. We're planning for after. There's a difference. Do you remember that conversation now? Vaguely. Robert leaned forward. Ms. Chen, I'm going to ask you a direct question, and I need you to answer honestly. Did you and Kevin plan to change Donald's will while he was dying? Patricia Wolfe put her hand on Victoria's arm. Don't answer that. I have to remind you that you're under oath, Robert said. If you lie and I can prove it, that's perjury. Victoria looked at her attorney, then back at Robert. We discussed it, but we didn't. We didn't force him to do anything. He agreed. When did he agree? In August. Kevin talked to him about it. When you say Kevin talked to him about it, what do you mean specifically? Kevin explained that it would be better for everyone if I inherited the house, that Mom would be fine with her pension and Social Security, that Donald had always treated me like a daughter and this was his chance to show it. And where was Margaret during these conversations? She wasn't there. She was, I don't know, running errands or something. So Kevin deliberately had these conversations when Margaret wasn't present. I guess so. Did Kevin ever tell you what medications Donald was on during these conversations? No. Did you know Donald was on heavy pain medication in August? Mom said he was on morphine, yes. Did it concern you that Kevin was having estate planning conversations with a man who was heavily medicated? Victoria didn't answer right away. I thought Donald knew what he was doing. Even though he was on medication that the hospice nurse documented was impairing his cognitive function, Kevin said he seemed lucid. Did you witness these conversations yourself? No. So you took Kevin's word that Donald was lucid enough to change his will? Yes. Robert paused, letting that sit. Let's talk about August 28th, the day the new will was signed. Where were you that day? Victoria looked at her attorney again. Patricia whispered something to her. I was at work, Victoria said. All day? Most of the day. Did Kevin ask you to keep Margaret busy that day? What? No. Robert pulled out another email. This is from Kevin to you, dated August 27th. It says, Tom's coming tomorrow at 1 p.m. with the papers. Can you get Margaret out of the house? Maybe send her on an errand or something? I need at least an hour with Donald alone. Did you receive this email? Victoria's hands were shaking. Yes. And did you respond? I said I'd try. What did you do? I called Mom that morning. I said I needed her to pick up something for me from the pharmacy across town. Something for my allergies. I said I couldn't get away from work. So you deliberately sent your mother on an errand to get her out of the house while Kevin had Donald sign a new will? I didn't know for sure that's what Kevin was doing. But you suspected? I knew he wanted to talk to Donald about the will. While Donald was heavily medicated, while your mother was away, with an attorney you'd never met, witnessed by Kevin's business partner and Kevin's college roommate. And you didn't think there was anything wrong with that? Victoria was crying now. I thought Donald wanted it. Kevin said he wanted it. Did you ever ask Donald yourself, face to face? No. Did you ever tell your mother that Kevin was pressuring Donald to change his will? No. Why not? Because She stopped. Because Kevin said we needed the money. Robert sat back. Thank you, Ms. Chen. No further questions. I watched my daughter walk out of that conference room and I felt nothing, not anger, not satisfaction, just emptiness. I sat down across from her. Thank you for coming, she said. What do you want, Victoria? I wanted to tell you that Kevin and I are getting divorced. I hadn't expected that. When did you decide this? Yesterday, after the ruling. I couldn't. She stopped. I can't look at him anymore without seeing what he did, what he made me do. He didn't make you do anything. You chose to go along with it. I know. But, Mom, I didn't understand how bad it was. Not really. Not until I heard all the evidence in court. Not until I saw those videos of Donald warning against exactly what we did. She was crying. He knew. 4 years ago, he knew Kevin would try this, and I helped him do it. Yes, you did. I destroyed everything, my relationship with you, my marriage, my career. I got fired last week when the story went public, my reputation, everything. I'm sorry you're facing consequences, but Victoria, you earned them. I know. She wiped her face. I'm going to plead guilty to whatever charges they bring. I'm not fighting it anymore. Why are you telling me this? Because I want you to know that I understand now. What I did, what it cost you, what it cost Donald's memory. She looked at me with red-rimmed eyes. And I want you to know that even if you never forgive me, even if I never see you again, I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be better than I was. How? I don't know yet. But I'll figure it out. Maybe I'll work with seniors. Maybe I'll volunteer somewhere that helps people who've been abused by their families. I don't know, but I have to do something. I have to make something good come from this nightmare. I sat there looking at my daughter, this woman I'd raised, who disappointed me so profoundly, who was finally maybe starting to understand what she'd done. I hope you do, I said. I hope you become someone Donald would have been proud of, someone I can be proud of. But Victoria, that's going to take years, and I don't know if I'll be around to see it. I understand. And I need you to understand something else. What you did, it didn't just hurt me, it hurt Donald. He spent his final weeks thinking he was protecting me, and you turned that into a lie. You made his death about greed and manipulation instead of love. I don't know if I can forgive that. I don't expect you to. We sat in silence for a moment. I'm moving to Eugene, Victoria said. Starting over. Kevin's staying in Portland, but I can't be in the same city as him. Or you. I need to be somewhere new. Okay. Will you? She stopped. Will you let me know if you ever want to talk, someday? Even if it's years from now? Maybe.
I don't know. That's fair. She stood up. Thank you for meeting me. And Mom, I really am sorry for all of it. She walked out of the coffee shop. I sat there for another 10 minutes, finishing the coffee I'd ordered but barely tasted, trying to figure out how I felt. I didn't cry. I just felt tired. 3 weeks later, I moved back into the house. Claire and Joan helped me. We walked through every room, checking what Victoria and Kevin had left behind, what they'd taken, what they'd changed. The renovations they'd started were half finished. New cabinets in the kitchen with no hardware, hardwood floors torn up in the living room, paint samples on every wall. It was like they'd started to erase me from the house and then stopped halfway through.
We can fix all of this, Claire said. Or you could sell it. Start fresh somewhere else.
I stood in the master bedroom, my bedroom, and looked out at Mount Hood in the distance. Donald and I used to watch the sunrise from this window.
I don't know yet, I said. Right now, I just need to be here.
The house felt different, empty in a way that wasn't just about Donald being gone, but it was mine, legally, finally mine. The DA filed charges against Victoria and Kevin in March. Victoria pleaded guilty to fraud and elder abuse, both felonies. She was sentenced to 18 months in prison with possibility of early release for good behavior. Kevin went to trial and was convicted. He got 3 years. I didn't attend either sentencing. Robert represented me and read a victim impact statement I'd written. In it, I said, what Victoria and Kevin didn't just steal money from me. They stole my husband's final act of love. They stole 6 months of my peace. They stole my sense of safety in the world, but they didn't steal my strength. They didn't steal my ability to fight back, and they didn't steal Donald's memory, because the truth came out. And the truth is that Donald loved me, tried to protect me, and wanted me to be taken care of. That's what I'll remember. Not what they tried to do, but what Donald actually did. Robert said. Victoria cried.
Through the whole statement, Kevin showed no emotion at all. I used some of Donald's money, my money, to finish the renovations Victoria had started. But I did them my way, my colors, my choices, erasing the half-finished version of their vision and replacing it with mine. I also set aside $500,000 to start a foundation, just like Donald's will had specified. But not for Victoria. She'd gotten her inheritance, a prison sentence, and a felony record. Instead, I created the Caldwell Foundation for Elder Financial Abuse. It offers free legal assistance to elderly people whose families are trying to steal from them. It provides education about estate planning and protecting yourself from exploitation. And it advocates for stronger laws against elder abuse. The foundation opened in June. Our first client was a 73-year-old man whose son had forged power of attorney documents and emptied his bank accounts. We helped him get his money back, and his son was charged with fraud. Our second client was an 80-year-old woman whose daughter-in-law had convinced her to sign over her house. We proved undue influence and got the house back. By the end of the first year, we'd helped 47 people, 47 families where someone tried to take advantage of a vulnerable parent or grandparent. 47 times we said, no, this is wrong. There are consequences. I volunteer at the foundation 3 days a week. I tell my story, not for sympathy, but as evidence that you can fight back, that you can win, that age doesn't mean weakness. People often ask me if I regret pursuing the case, if I regret not settling, if I regret my daughter going to prison. I tell them no, because what I regret is that it was necessary. I regret that Victoria made choices that led to prison, but I don't regret holding her accountable. I don't regret fighting for what Donald wanted me to have. And I don't regret showing other elderly people that they don't have to accept being stolen from. Sometimes I wonder what Donald would think of all this, if he'd be proud of me for fighting, if he'd be sad about Victoria, if he'd approve of the foundation. I think he'd be proud because he tried to protect me, and even though he failed in the moment, his planning, those videos, that letter, that safety deposit box, they gave me the tools to protect myself. That was his final gift to me, not the money, not the house, but the evidence I needed to fight back, and I used it.
It's been 2 years now since Donald died. Since my daughter told me to find somewhere else to die. Since I found that safety deposit box key and my whole life changed direction. I'm 70 years old. I live in the house Donald and I built together, though it looks different now. Softer somehow. More mine. I painted the kitchen a pale yellow that catches the morning light. I turned Donald's office into a reading room with a comfortable chair and shelves full of books I've been meaning to read for decades. The garden is overgrown in a deliberate way, wildflowers mixed with the roses Donald planted. I'm not lonely. People ask me that. Aren't you lonely in that big house by yourself? But no, I'm not lonely. I'm alone. And there's a difference. Lonely is wanting company you don't have. Alone is being content with your own presence. I have coffee with Claire every Sunday morning. We've been doing that for 43 years now, and I don't plan to stop. Joan and I volunteer at the foundation together on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I've reconnected with old nursing friends, women I worked with decades ago who remember who I was before all of this happened. And I'm building something new, not a new family. I'm past the age where you build those, but a new purpose, a new way of being in the world. The Caldwell Foundation has helped 147 people in 2 years. 147 elderly people who were being stolen from, manipulated, abused by the people who should have loved them most. We've recovered over $8 million for them. $8 million that families tried to steal. Every time we win a case, every time we help someone get back what was stolen from them, I think about Donald, about how he tried to protect me and succeeded even after he was gone. Last month, a woman named Patricia came to the foundation. She was 75, recently widowed, and her stepchildren had convinced her late husband to change his will 2 weeks before he died, while he was on hospice care, while he was heavily medicated. Sound familiar? I sat across the desk from Patricia and I saw myself 2 years ago, confused, heartbroken, believing she'd been betrayed by the man she loved. He wouldn't have done this. She kept saying, Frank loved me. He promised he'd take care of me. This doesn't make sense. I know.
I told her, I know exactly how you feel, and I'm here to tell you that you're not crazy, that you're probably right, and that we're going to help you prove it. We did. We found the medical records. We found evidence that the stepchildren had been pressuring Frank for months. We found an earlier will that left everything to Patricia, just like Frank had always said he would. When the judge ruled in Patricia's favor 3 months later, she hugged me in the courtroom and said, "You saved my life." But I didn't save her life. I just gave her the tools to save herself. The same way Donald gave me tools. That's what the foundation is really about. Not just recovering money, but giving people their power back, showing them they don't have to accept being victimized, that they can fight, that they can win. Victoria was released from prison 4 months ago. She served 14 months with time off for good behavior. She didn't contact me when she got out, and I didn't contact her. But 2 weeks ago, I got a letter, not a text, not an email, an actual letter in the mail forwarded from her attorney's office. Dear Mom, I know you probably didn't expect to hear from me. I know you might not even read this, but I wanted you to know what I've been doing since I got out. I'm working at a senior center in Eugene. It's minimum wage, cleaning and helping with meals and activities. Nothing glamorous. But I'm around elderly people every day, and I see how vulnerable they are, how much they trust people, how easy it would be to take advantage of them. And I make sure nobody does. Last month, I noticed one of the residents, a woman named Eleanor, signing papers that her nephew brought her. Something about it felt wrong. The way he was rushing her, the way he wouldn't let her read everything. It reminded me of what Kevin did to Donald. I reported it to the senior center director. She looked into it. Turns out the nephew was trying to get Eleanor to sign over her house. The papers weren't what he said they were. We stopped it. Eleanor kept her house. Her nephew is facing charges. I didn't do it for forgiveness. I didn't do it because I think it makes up for what I did to you and Donald. I did it because it was the right thing to do. And I'm going to keep doing the right thing even if you never know about it. I don't expect to hear back from you.
I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be someone you could be proud of someday, even if that day is never. I love you. I'm sorry, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to earn the right to say those words and mean them. Victoria. I read that letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and sat with how it made me feel. Not forgiveness, not yet, maybe not ever, but something softer than anger, something like hope that maybe Victoria really is trying, that maybe she understands now what she took from me, from Donald, from herself. I haven't written back yet. Maybe I will, maybe I won't, but I kept the letter, and that's something. People ask me what I learned from all of this, what wisdom I can offer. Like going through hell should automatically make you wise. But here's what I know. They told me where to die. I showed them how to live. When Victoria said those words to me, find somewhere else to die, she thought she was dismissing me, sending me away to fade quietly out of existence while she lived in my house and spent my money. Instead, she woke something up in me, something I didn't know was there, the part of me that says no, the part that fights, the part that refuses to be erased. I'm 70 years old and I've never been more alive. I work, I volunteer, I help people, I matter. Not because of what I have, though I'm grateful for the security Donald's planning gave me, but because of what I do with it. Every elderly person we help at the foundation, I think, this is what Donald wanted. This is his legacy, not the money Victoria tried to steal, but the good that money is doing now. I learned something else too. Age is just a number when you're fighting for what's yours. People see gray hair and wrinkles and they assume weakness. They assume you won't fight back. They assume you'll just accept whatever they tell you because you're too old, too tired, too confused to question it. Victoria and Kevin assumed that about me. They thought I'd grieve and cry and eventually accept the story they'd created. They thought I'd be too devastated to think clearly. They were wrong. I was devastated. But devastation doesn't mean weakness. Sometimes it means the opposite. Sometimes losing everything shows you that you're stronger than you knew, that you can survive things you thought would break you, that you can fight back when you thought
You'd lost the will to fight. I'm not the same woman I was 2 years ago. That woman was softer, trusted more easily, believed that family meant something sacred and unbreakable. This woman, the one I am now, is harder, more careful, but also more powerful because I know what I'm capable of. I know I can stand in a courtroom and tell my truth. I can face down my own daughter and say, no, you don't get to do this. I can build something meaningful from the wreckage of my life. That's not nothing. That's everything. I went to Donald's grave last week, first time in almost a year. I brought flowers, white roses, his favorite, and I sat on the grass next to his headstone. I won, I told him. I know you can't hear me, but I wanted you to know. I found the box. I found the videos. I fought for what you wanted me to have. And I won. The cemetery was quiet, except for birds and the distant sound of traffic. I sat there for a long time, just being with him. I started the foundation, I said. We're helping people, people like me, people whose families tried to steal from them. We're making a difference, Donald. Your money is making a difference. I thought about telling him about Victoria, about the letter, about prison and divorce and her working at a senior center. But I didn't know what to say. Didn't know if he'd be proud of me for holding her accountable or disappointed that his stepdaughter went to prison because of evidence he left me. Maybe both. Life is complicated like that. I miss you, I said finally. I'm angry at you sometimes for not telling me about Kevin's pressure, for not protecting yourself better, for leaving me alone to deal with all of this. But I miss you, and I know you tried. I know you loved me. That's enough. I left the flowers and drove home, to the house that's finally, legally, permanently mine. The foundation is planning a fundraiser next month. We're going to share stories from people we've helped. Patricia is going to speak. So is Robert, talking about the legal side of elder abuse. And they've asked me to speak too. I'm going to tell Donald's story. And mine. I'm going to tell people that you can't trust someone just because they're family.
That love doesn't mean accepting abuse. That standing up for yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And I'm going to tell them that if you're reading this, if you're listening to this story, and you see yourself in any part of it, it's not too late. You can fight back. You can demand what you're owed. You can refuse to be erased. Whether you're 65 or 70 or 80 or 90, you matter. Your wishes matter. Your life matters. And anyone who tries to take that from you deserves consequences. I know because I lived it. Because I was told to find somewhere else to die, and instead I found reasons to live. I found my strength. I found my voice. I found my purpose. And I'm not done yet. Not even close. Claire and I are planning another trip to Ireland next spring. We're too old for this, she keeps saying, but she's already looking at flights. We're not too old, I tell her. We're just getting started. Because that's the other thing I learned. Your life isn't over just because someone says it is. Just because you're 68 or 70 or any age where people start treating you like you're already halfway to the grave. Your life is over when you decide it is. And I haven't decided that yet. I have work to do, people to help, places to see, a garden to tend, and books to read, and coffee dates with my sister on Sunday mornings. I have a foundation to run and elderly people to protect and a legacy to build that has nothing to do with how much money I have and everything to do with what I choose to do with it. Victoria thought she could take my life from me. She thought telling me to find somewhere else to die would make me disappear quietly. Instead, it made me show her, show everyone, how to live with dignity, with strength, with purpose. Donald gave me the tools, the videos, the letter, the planning, but I did the work. I fought the fight. I won the battle. And now I'm helping other people do the same. That's what Donald would have wanted. Not for me to hoard his money or live in that house alone mourning him, but for me to take what he gave me and use it to make the world a little bit better. So that's what I'm doing. One elderly person at a time, one case at a time, one story at a time, showing people that they matter, that they deserve justice. That age doesn't mean weakness. That's my life now. Not the life I planned, not the life I thought I'd have when Donald and I built that house in 2015. But it's a good life, an honest life, a life that matters. And nobody, not Victoria, not Kevin, not anyone, can take that away from me. Because I
Finally learned what Donald was trying to teach me all along. The only person who can tell you where to die is you. And I'm not ready yet, not for a long, long time. If this story resonated with you, please subscribe to Echo Lens Stories. Your support means the world to me, and it helps me continue sharing these stories that matter. Thank you for listening.